Okay, Alexander, AG Barr. AG Barr is making the news of late. A lot of news on a lot of different subjects in different areas. But today, let's tackle a Wall Street Journal article, a Wall Street Journal news exclusive, actually. And here's the title. It says, Barr tells prosecutors to consider charging violent protesters with sedition. To bring a sedition case, prosecutors would have to prove there was a conspiracy to attack government agents or officials that posed an imminent danger. Now, Alexander, I want to read you a couple of tweets. Let me pull them up. From Catherine Herridge at CBS News. Actually, Catherine Herridge, if you remember her, she used to work at Fox. She was, I think, the security of the intelligence head at Fox, and now she's at CBS. But she's got a lot of inside sources in D.C. in the swamp, and I want to get to three tweets of hers that reference Barr and what's going on here. New DOJ tells at CBS News that in a call with U.S. attorneys last week, the AG did encourage prosecutors to be more aggressive in bringing charges against violent protesters for crimes, including for plotting to overthrow the government. Several legal avenues were mentioned during this meeting, including the sedition law and a statute that permits prosecutors to federally charge someone impeding or obstructing law enforcement when they are responding to unrest. This kind of response from the Attorney General is not surprising, as his priority for restoring law and order has become a hallmark of his tenure during this administration, plus part of his department's broader strategy. This is confirmed via Wall Street Journal alert. That is Catherine Herridge's 3 tweets on the subject matter as well from CBS News, a news outlet, I may add, that is very antagonistic both towards Barr and, of course, towards U.S. President Trump. Alexander, what do you make of this story?
I think it's a very interesting story, and I think what it shows is that not just Barr, but more and more people in the federal government are looking at the situation up and down the United States, are saying to themselves, state governments are not doing their job, mayors in cities are not doing their job, crime and disorder is getting worse in lots of places, and the laws which are there to uphold public order and to prevent crime, which, remember, in the United States, which is a federation of states. I mean, most of the laws that deal with crime and disorder are state laws, but they're not being enforced properly. So they're saying to themselves increasingly, well, as the federal government, what can we do in this kind of situation? And they're now exploring their own legal avenues. What they can do as federal law authorities under federal laws to try to bring some kind of order and law back to American cities, given that local state governments and mayoral authorities are not enforcing state and local laws. And one possibility they've looked at is the sedition law, which, by the way, I think is going to be very problematic for all kinds of reasons. I don't want to get into a lecture about the sedition law, but there have been very few prosecutions based on it in the history of the United States, and I think that there may be problems there. But I'm sure that there are other laws, lots of other laws, which they can use. Now, I'm going to make a prediction. I think that if Donald Trump wins re-election in November, as I expect, we will see the federal government and the US attorneys and all the machinery of the federal government being used in a much more active way than up to now to try to restore order to US cities. And they will use all the legal machinery, which is huge, that the US government has, and they will be prepared to act even when state governments say that they don't want them to act. And they will say, well, we're not enforcing your local laws, we are enforcing federal law, which enjoins us to do various things. The body of US federal law is huge, And I would be astonished if the Justice Department in the United States, led by a jurist like William Barr, could not find a very impressive list of federal offenses that they could apply to restore order in this situation. So that, I think, is what's coming if Trump is re-elected. So, I think that's, by the way, can I just say, I think it is the duty of every government to maintain and preserve order and law in their country. So I think they would be right to do it, provided always, of course, they do it in a lawful and proportionate way. But that's what this looks to me to be all about.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the key differences in the campaigns between Trump and Biden is that Trump is definitely running at this moment as a law and order candidate and president, and that's how he is branding himself, while Biden is actually self-inflicted. Biden has branded himself as not a law and order president, but Trump is also branding Biden, the Biden-Harris team, as a not law and order candidate as well. I mean, it's a self-inflicted wound as well, because Biden and Harris have come out in support of the rioters and everything that's going on.
Yeah, the candidates of chaos. That's what they've managed to represent themselves. I mean, it's very bizarre because, of course, both Biden and Harris have histories of taking very tough lines on law and order, but in this election they haven't, and it's going to come back to bite them. I mean, it's going to be a disaster for them, because already you're starting to get more and more reports of Hispanic voters in particular massing behind Donald Trump, because people are afraid of going out in their streets and of running their businesses and of being harassed and of finding themselves in problems. And of course, they're looking to the president, who says he will restore safety to America's cities, to the streets and towns and places where American people live and where they run their businesses and carry on their lives. So that's exactly what this is all about. And this is exactly, by the way, what this is promising. This meeting between Barr and the US prosecutors is promising. And it is what, they're looking into. There's going to be a pretty impressive package. And I predict, by the way, that though I think the timing for this cannot happen before the election, because it takes a while to gear up this huge machine of the federal government, I think we will have a much clearer picture of what's coming before the election, and Trump will campaign on it, because that's exactly the kind of campaign he is running, exactly as you said.
Yeah, he will campaign on it. He'll take advantage of it. And, the problem that Biden and Harris have is, even though they've taken a very extreme line in the past, their record has been very extreme on law and order, very extreme. They don't want to come out as law and order candidates, because I think they're afraid of the scrutiny it will draw to their record, which has been very heavy-handed, especially towards the African-American Black community. They don't want that scrutinized. So they're kind of stuck in a no man's land where they can't come out as law and order, because then, it's going to get scrutinized. And then when they come out as against law and order and too much on the side of Antifa and the riots, then you get, Trump hitting them on law and order. But Alexander, let me read you from the Wall Street Journal article, 2 paragraphs. And I think this is a clever move on Barr, even though he's using sedition, which you said is very difficult to prosecute. I think it underpins, the Trump campaign as being a law and order type of administration and a campaign run on law and order. Here's what the Wall Street Journal says. Federal prosecutors have charged more than 200 people with violent crimes to the protests, most of whom face counts of arson, assaulting federal officers, or gun crimes. FBI officials earlier this year described the perpetrators as largely opportunistic individuals taking advantage of the protests. In more recent months, police officials say they are alarmed by the presence of armed fringe groups from both sides of the political spectrum. Mr. Barr has blamed much of the violence on leftist extremists, including Antifa, a loose network of groups and people that describe themselves as opposing fascism, and which Mr. Barr has described as a movement advocating revolution. I tend to agree with Barr's definition of Antifa, and I don't think they're a loose organization. I think they're actually very well funded somewhere, centrally somewhere. Where that central funding is, I don't know. Follow the money. Alexander.
Well, I'm going to say something else. I'm sure many people in Antifa would agree with Barr's description of them. I mean, let's be frank about it. I mean, they're quite open. Many of them are very open about what they are. They are a left-wing revolutionary movement, many of whose members believe in what they call direct action, i.e. violence. I mean, they're quite open about it. I don't think there's any doubt about this. I know some people want to argue otherwise, but it's what they themselves say. And it's not just what they say, it's what they do. I am a bit tired, by the way, of these attempts by many people to sort of equate, say, there's left-wing people who are rioting and there's also right-wing people, and the two somehow balance these things off. This isn't the case at all. Right-wing people aren't going around toppling statues and doing all the attacking courthouses, doing all of those other things that, that Antifa and all of these violent groups are up to. I mean, to the extent that there is right-wing violence, which, by the way, if it happens, should be strongly criticized also, but to the extent that it is happening, it is entirely reactive. It is purely reactive. The drive for this is coming from groups like Antifa, which are clearly on the left. I mean, there's no question about this. I mean, anybody who denies this is not reporting reality in the United States now. And, whether one is left or one is right, all of us should acknowledge the realities and acknowledge what are the facts on the ground. Now, I'm going to say something else, which is that, of course, we've got, as I said, governments have a responsibility to maintain order. Some governments, state governments in the United States, are not fulfilling that responsibility. The president and the government in Washington cannot allow chaos to prevail. And so what Trump says he will do about restoring order to American cities is his duty to do. He is absolutely right in painting Biden and Harris as the forces, the candidates of chaos, because that is exactly what they have become. And I am sure you're right, because of their backstories. They can't advance because, that would expose, how, oppressive they were previously, needlessly oppressive in many things, by the way. They were as, former law and order candidates. So they don't want to do that because they don't want to lose all the support of the left and of the many African Americans, whatever. But at the same time, by not taking that stand, they are inevitably coming across as the candidates of chaos. What that proves, by the way, is a point which made many times on our program. These two were the worst possible candidates the Democrats could have picked to defeat Donald Trump, because they've got backstories that don't help them, and they have no clear way of getting out of the problems that they have, to a great extent, created for themselves, and they have no way of formulating answers for the problems that affect the people of the United States. So they're two disastrous candidates who can't advance and can't retreat because they're trapped by their own philosophies and also by their own past.
All right, very quickly, Alexander, to wrap up the video, the Wall Street Journal mentioned 200 arrests for crimes such as arson and other crimes. Obviously, serious crimes, but lesser crimes than sedition.
Oh, yeah.
So do you think this is a strategy from Barr where it's kind of like, I'm just going to scare the hell out of all these people, but we're going to get you on serious crimes if you screw around?
Yes.
But keep a mental note in your head as you're screwing around that there is a possibility that we're going to get you also on a sedition charge, which is, obviously as serious as it gets.
On a completely different scale. I mean, to be very clear, arson is a very serious crime and should be punished accordingly, and is accepted as such in most criminal jurisdictions that I know of. But sedition is, of course, another level. In fact, many levels up again. I mean, sedition is a political. It deals with it's if you like a kind of political crime, because it's about the authority of the state, and it punishes an attack on the authority of the state and on the constitutional order of the state. It's on the way towards treason.
Treason, right?
So I mean, it's not that, but it's right. It's works in that kind of direction. So, and I think you're absolutely right. I mean, it's a difficult offence to prove in a court of law, as those kind of offences invariably are, but the consequences of being convicted under it are huge. And, I think you're absolutely right. I think it will scare a lot of people. I mean, one of the things that explains this violence that we've seen in American cities is that so many of the people who are carrying it out have developed a sense of impunity. They can do it because they know perfectly well that nobody's going to stop them. The state governments aren't going to stop them. The local police are demoralized and are being defunded, and the mayors are against them too. Suddenly, they're going to learn that, if they carry on like this, they will be definitely charged with all kinds of serious offences under federal law. And they may also face sedition charges. And that will certainly scare them. And you were talking about, follow the money. It might scare some of their funders and some of their, shadowy leaders. And by the way, I agree with you. I don't think Antifa is quite as decentralized an organization as some people make out. I mean, it clearly isn't, in fact. So, a lot of people would be much more alarmed if that's suddenly what they were facing. And that can have a very powerful deterrent effect too. There's a lovely quote from a British judge of the 18th century: "Nothing concentrates the mind so much as the prospect of getting hanged." Well, I'm not saying anybody should be hanged, but perhaps some minds need to start concentrating.
Yeah, especially those that are funding. That's the real sedition, are the people that are putting the money into this. Well,
I think actually, if I have to be straightforward about this, sedition is primarily about that. It's not about people running up and down, throwing Molotov cocktails. It's about the organizers who are lurking behind it.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, we'll leave it there. Alexander Mercurs, thank you very much, guys. If you like this video, click on that red subscribe button. When you click on that button and subscribe to the channel, you will get notifications. Hopefully, you'll get notifications from YouTube when we publish a new video and when we go live. And please donate to us on PayPal, Patreon, and Subscribestar. Your donation helps out this small channel grow. And also go to the Duran shop, pick up some merchandise. I know Alexander is going to talk about very new merchandise that he just received, but new merchandise that we've literally just put onto the shop a few days ago. So with that, I will show off my UK Magic mug as well. Alexander.
And of course, I've got my Australian mug, but this isn't what Alex is referring to. Some of you keen-eyed people will have noticed that I'm wearing an amazing, wonderful, fantastic, marvelous new Duran shirt, embroidered shirt. It's embroidered with the double-headed eagle of the Duran. It is a wonderful shirt. It is so comfortable and beautiful and amazing in every way. It arrived just a short time ago, just before we did these programs. So it was a joy and a delight to put it on. And here I am in it, in my marvelous new Duran shirt, long sleeve shirt, embroidered with the double-headed eagle of the Duran right on top of where my heart is. By the way, that's exactly the right place. And, well, I'm as proud as one can be in this wonderful shirt which has given me amazing confidence coming onto these programs. So you will find lots of shirts in our shop. You will find shirts like these. You will find shirts with the flags of many countries. You will find long sleeve t-shirts and short sleeve t-shirts, and you'll find our wonderful polo shirts. And by the way, I've got a new polo shirt also, but that I will show you in another video. So all of these wonderful shirts are amazing Duran magic mugs. This one, as I said, with the flag of Australia, a country that we feel very close to. Here in Britain, it's a sort of country that was part of our Commonwealth, and we have always been politically and socially and economically very close, even though the distances are huge. Here is a smaller Duran mug with the flag of Greece. These are the best mugs in the world. We've also got enameled mugs, perfect for taking out of doors. This one with the flag of England. Alex was showing you the flag of the UK. This is the flag of England, which is the largest kingdom in the UK, but all the other kingdoms, Scotland, Wales, Ireland, Northern Ireland, they're also hugely important to us. So you can find all of these wonderful mugs and wonderful shirts in the Duran, and you've got them in with many flags of many nations. Before long, definitely your nation will be there too, if it's not there already. And of course, we've got amazing other things too. We've got embroidered hats, and we've got hats with flags, and we've got baseball hats, and we've got truckers hats, and we've got the best hoodies in the world. My wife has just got a hoodie from the Duran shop, and she's absolutely delighted to be wearing it and showing it off as she likes to do. And you will also find, of course, our wonderful gallery of ebooks. So if you come to our shop, you will get these amazing things. You will support this small but brave channel, which provides you with all this wonderful analysis, and you will be very happy with the things you will find there. So come to our shop, support the Duran. Alex will tell you how.
You'll find the link to the Duran shop underneath this video in the description box down below. Alexander Mercurs, thank you very much. Until next time, everybody, take care.